Hi, I'm Morgan. Welcome to Way of Living podcast, where you will hear empowering women talking about how you shouldn't feel stuck in an unfulfilling career and how to follow your dreams. Life is short, live it to the fullest, and I hope you will feel inspired by their stories. When Katie Cope started her business in April 2019, she didn't think she was going to celebrate her first year anniversary in lockdown due to COVID-19. Having to juggle work and her 2 children, she had to rethink her whole organization and be transparent with her clients about what she could and couldn't do due to the circumstances. Thankfully, Katie wasn't the only one in the situation and people were understanding. In this episode, Katie talks about how she started Brand by Katie, how she dealt with childcare during lockdown, her burnout, and how she got the support she needed. Hi Katie, how are you?
I am good, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. It's very nice to finally meet you, even
I
though
know.
virtually. So you're the founder of Brand by Katie, which is you're a brand specialist for
Yeah.
small businesses.
Yes.
Can you introduce yourself and can you talk about like what do you mean about small businesses?
Yeah, not a problem at all. So as you said that my business is called Brand by Katie, and I am a brand specialist, and I also am a brand designer, so I'm a specialist and designer. So I specialize in helping small businesses learn the value of what a brand identity can do for them, as well as creating it for them, so I can do it more bespoke as well. And it's one of these things that small businesses don't realize, that brand identity is not just for the big companies like Apple and Coca-Cola and all the big businesses. You can actually implement it in a small business in which you can see really good results in terms of having a brand identity. So what a brand identity can do is it can make you have consistent sales month in, month out. That's what a brand can do. It can also make sure that you have a loyal following. So you'll have a loyal audience who not only buy from you, but they will also promote your services without you having to do anything, without you having to pay them anything, without you having to ask them. They will do it for you. And the biggest thing for me with brand identity, because I have my own brand identity, is it gives me time to concentrate on other areas of my business. So I don't have to always go and pitch, because most of my clients come from social media, so I don't have to go and pitch every single day and do cold calling and go do cold pitching for little or no return. Pretty much all of my business comes from either referrals or return clients, or they've just found me just because of my brand. And that is a big thing with running your own business, is you need to have time to do the business side of it as well as you're doing the client side of it. So that's really helped my business, which is why I want to teach small businesses how to do it, because it's such a great thing to have and it's such a massive asset to have. So that's why I do what I do.
Did you have any background in brand managing or?
I started with sort of marketing side of it. So when I was going way back, when I was actually in school, I was part of a young enterprise scheme, and as part of that, I was doing the marketing side of it. So I used to do all sort of like the promotional material and that sort of side, and I kind of continued that when I went to university. So I did animation for my degree. So my degree is a Bachelor of Arts with honours degree in animation, but I continued doing sort of the marketing side of things and promoting for the drama society that was part of the university. And I got into it that way, is sort of doing the marketing side of it, and then realizing that behind that marketing there needs to be a brand and an identity behind it, and that's how I sort of fell into it. I did take a break from it a little bit after I left university, and I actually went to work in the events industry for a little bit, and then after I had my eldest son, I sort of came back to it again. So then after my second son, because I was made redundant when I was 7 months pregnant, I decided to set up a business, and that's how I actually started the business. Is I set it up when I was made redundant. I was 7 months pregnant, and that's when I really started focusing on brand and brand identity.
Oh, wow. So you were made redundant and you were like, nope,
I
I'm
was.
not gonna
Yeah.
cry. I'm just gonna
No,
be even more strong.
exactly. It was very much so. It was basically on the Monday, I was told that I was made redundant, in which I got a week's worth of pay. I didn't get any redundancy pay because I hadn't worked at that company long enough to have redundancy pay. I had 8 days holiday pay given to me, and then that was it, and it was completely cut off. We didn't really have any savings because me and my husband don't really have that many savings, and so it was literally on the Monday I was made redundant, and then by the Friday I'd set up a business and I was going with it and I was running with it. The main reason for it is because I knew that as somebody that was 7 months pregnant at the time, I was also suffering from pelvic girdle pain as well. So I was on crutches and I was on high painkillers as well. And I was just like, nobody is going to employ me in this position for me just to go on maternity leave, which is why I just set up the business, went, you know what, let's try it and see. And if it doesn't work, then I'll just go and get a job once I'd finished my maternity leave. And I haven't.
Was this even a thought before you got made redundant?
It was kind of it had always been in the background. After I'd had my first son, my eldest son, I'd always sort of thought, is there something more that I could be doing? Because I'd sort of, when I moved into the events industry, I completely got rid of sort of my creative side of it. And then it was once I was on maternity leave and I was kind of like, well, I kind of want to do something a bit more creative. So it was always sort of on the side, and I had registered myself as part-time self-employed by that point, but I'd never sort of pushed it or anything. I'd always gone back to a full-time employment. So it was always sort of there in the background. So when it did actually happen and when I was made redundant, it was sort of along the lines of, well, I'm already part-time self-employed. Let's make it full-time and see what happens. So it was always there in the background, sort of hanging on there.
So how did you start it? Because obviously it took like less than a week
Yeah.
to do it. But as
Yes.
you said earlier, you have your brand, but
Mm-hmm.
before that Friday, you didn't
Mm-hmm.
have a brand.
Basically, how I started was, the first things first is I sat down and actually wrote down what I wanted to do. What did I want to achieve? In which the biggest thing that came out of it was graphic design and that sort of side of it. So I did actually start my business as just a general graphic design. And as it started and as it moved along, I realized that you couldn't just do graphic design for small businesses. There needed to be something else there for it to actually work. You couldn't just create a logo and hope that people would come and buy from that business. There had to be a strategy behind it, which is when I started looking into sort of brand strategy and that sort of side, in which it was sort of always there and I was always sort of interested in it. I'd never looked into it fully to understand it. But when I realized like how much of an asset brand identity and brand strategy can be, that's when I sort of almost pivoted my business so that it was less general graphic design where I was creating logos and things. It was the brand strategy side, but I could also do the design side as well.
Can you take us through how you actually, from the moment you had the idea to
Mm-hmm.
then, thinking, okay, this needs to be more than graphic design, how did you create it?
So how I created it was, first of all, I got some clients together. So I sort of pitched my ideas. So first of all, when I started off, I did have to pitch and I had to do cold
Yeah.
calling because nobody knew who I
Mhm,
was.
mhm.
Um, as I got more momentum and as people got to know me, I sort of fell into a rhythm of who I was and what I was like, in which that's very much what branding is. It's very much pulling on your values and your mission and your vision statement, really. Um, so once I understood all of that, and it was just being me basically, that I realized that this is actually a brand, and this is a brand that I can actually market for myself, for people to understand exactly what I do. So that's why I like really niched down and said, no, I'm not going to be doing any of the other things. I'm just going to be focusing on the brand identity side of it. And I think that's the biggest thing, is when you first start off in a business, you think that you need to serve everybody and everything that you need to do. But now, as I'm like, now my business is a year old, and going through everything, niching down and being known for doing one thing and one thing only is the best option. because people get to know who you are, and I see it all the time that if anybody asks about branding or anything, I can see my audience already recommending me because they know exactly what I do, and that's the only thing that I do is brand identity, and it's really easy for them to remember that rather than multiple things that I've been doing.
As you just said, your business is a year
Mhm.
old now. Well, it
It
turned
is.
one in April
It did.
during lockdown.
It did. No, exactly.
How did you deal with this?
So when it went into lockdown, usually my two boys, one of them's at school, the other one is he turned one in June, so he was really little. Usually, what happened when they either went to nursery or they went over to their grandparents, which obviously when lockdown happened, it didn't happen. We couldn't do it, so I had to pivot my business. So I let all my clients know. I was completely transparent with all my clients and said, like, I have kids. I need to be there for childcare because my husband wasn't actually furloughed during the entire of the pandemic. He had to go to work. So it was me as the main childcare provider throughout the day. So during the day, I was looking after them, and then in the evenings, I was working and doing work, in which it did significantly impact. It definitely did, because I couldn't take on as many clients as I could do, just because of the amount of hours that I'd have to do and how little hours I had in the evenings. But that's basically what I did, is that during the evenings when my husband was back, he would take over the parenting responsibilities and I would get on and do work.
Wow.
Mm.
Because there is, first of all, you're tired by
Yes.
your day with two small children, and
Yeah.
there is not a lot of hours in the evening. You can't go to bed at 6 in
No.
the morning, you know.
No. So I was like, it literally was as soon as my husband came home, which was around about 5 o'clock, then I would start working. In which I made sure that I was completely transparent with all my customers, and that was the biggest thing, is always to be transparent with them and say, look, this is what is happening. And I think because it was a pandemic and everybody else was going through the same thing, everybody was much more sort of like, yes, we know it's fine. If things are going to take a little bit longer than they should do, then that's absolutely fine.
Yeah,
So
people
my
see
clients
that
were,
definitely. Yeah.
yeah. So my clients were like really, they were really happy with that, and they were really good, like that. Also, I found that when people are asking me things, I was pushing them back and saying I can't start until X amount of time. And because I had that reputation already about and how good I was, then people were happy to wait for me for when I could actually free up time to make them available. So
How long did it take for your business to start growing and for you to see a significant change? And
the significant change for it was when literally sort of May, June time. So when we started getting more relaxed and sort of, it was almost when we started getting into it and into the swing of the fact that we were in lockdown, we can't go anywhere. You started seeing more businesses sort of going, well, I need to go online, I need to
yeah.
pivot. So you started seeing that them coming back again. So it did take a little bit of a dip, but sort of May, June time, then it sort of almost exploded. And especially now, because we're now sort of in a sort of mini-ish lockdown, it's more relaxed, that more people are sort of pushing to do brand identity, because they've realized that if they go online, especially, there is so many people online nowadays, especially after the pandemic, and it is just so hard to be seen. For my business itself, even though I specialize in brand identity, it's graphic design, and there is thousands of us that will pitch. And I can tell, like, when I go on to if I'm looking at anything and I see anybody asking for logo designs, if there's like 100 plus people that are commenting, you're going, yeah, there's no way that you're going to scroll all the way down there and find me. There's no point, which is why people are working on their brands now, because then it means that they don't have to go and they don't have to continually pitch. It means people will come to them instead.
So what's your advice for that?
My advice is to work on your brand identity. That is my ultimate advice. So have an understanding of what your target audience is, know them inside out, know them better than themselves almost. Once you know who that target audience is, have a look at how you engage in them. There is a thing which we look at for brand strategy is called it's 12 archetypes. And people fall into these categories, and the audiences fall into these 12 archetypes, in which those archetypes will tell you exactly how they think, how they feel, what colors they are attracted to and ones that they aren't. Once you understand that side of it, then you can really engage in that target audience. So that's what brand strategy is, and that's what the brand identity is. It's targeting them. And the thing is with an audience rather than a target market is the audience is there. They don't necessarily need to buy from you. They just need to be engaged with you, because even if they don't buy from you, they will promote your services regardless, because they know who you are and they're interested in what you do.
What are the most difficult thing for you as a business owner compared to when you were an employee?
Yeah, probably the most difficult thing is switching off, actually. So when I used to work in full-time employment, I used to work 9 to 5. It was quite a standard sort of time. If I was working on an event, then maybe it was like a slightly different. I would work weekends and things. But once I'd left the business, then that was it. That was the end of it. I didn't really need to think about anything else until I got back into the office the next day. Now that I work from home and it's my business, you are constantly thinking about your business, and you're constantly thinking what's the next thing that you can do, which I think is a bit of a pre-misconception about working as a business owner, is you think that you do have flexible time, and you have flexible time to work when you can and when you need to, but it does you are thinking about your business constantly, and what's the next thing that you need to do. So switching off is quite hard, in which I've actually had to sort of put in time to actually switch off. So I've plotted in days during the month to go, no, you can't look at your work, you can't look at your emails, you have to switch off fully. And that's the thing with business owners, is if they don't switch off, then you can get burnout, which I did get burnout sort of at the end of sort of the pandemic, just because I was looking after the kids and then trying to do my business as well. So I've felt it, and it feels horrible. So you do need to take that break, and it also helps with creativity as well, of what you're going to do next, is you have to have that time away from your business.
How did you manage after your burnout? What did you do?
But it was only a very mini burnout, but it was enough to sort of go, hey, you need to stop. So after that, I literally that full weekend I didn't do any work. I just left it and just moved away from it. My husband, who is absolutely lovely, he came and sort of he looked after the kids. He does anyway. He is absolutely amazing with my kids. So he came home and sort of took them out, just took them away so that I could have like 5 minutes peace. But the biggest thing of all really is I've just been talking to people. So like I am part of like this really great tribe of women who are all business owners. We're all going through the same thing. We've all got kids, and we all sort of at one stage or another we hit burnout in one way or another during the pandemic, and we just talked about it and we chatted to each other about it, and we were there for each other. And it's like, you know what, if you want to rant and you want to vent about it, then that is absolutely fine. You go do that. But they were also there as well to go, right, okay, now you've done it, you need to get your big girl's pants on, and we need to go and we need to move. So I think definitely the biggest thing was talking about it and actually acknowledging that it happened, and realizing what happened. Because now when I'm working, I can kind of feel it sometimes if it's coming back again, and I already recognize it and go, wait, hang on, stop. So it's made my business so much better because I can feel it now, and I know when like I need to have a break, and I know when to stop.
Yeah, it must be difficult as well during the pandemic and when you're in lockdown. I'm a single mom, for example, and I live in a flat.
Yeah.
Sometimes I was like, I just want to scream. I just want to get outside and scream and just close my eyes.
Exactly. It's just like, I just need to get out of these four walls and just or just I just need everybody just to leave me alone for 5 minutes. And and I think that's come up more in sort of the pandemic, is how much harder it is to do it. But I think definitely talking about it, and even if it's sort of like even if you're not at that stage where you're at burnout point, where you're sort of going, this is getting on top of me, I can feel myself getting overwhelmed, to just talk with somebody about it and just sort of release it, it makes it so much easier. And as I say, I'm part of an amazing tribe of women who will literally, we will rant about anything that's happening, but we also are there for each other, and we will also tell each other, go, right, okay, now you've done it, you need to pick yourself up, let's go. Which is it's a great tribe to have.
Is it a public community, or is it something private?
No, it is a private community. I have no idea. We do talk about this, of whether or not we should make it public, just because there are so many of us with so many different skills in there that we could make it public. But for now, at the moment, we have it as just a private tribe, basically.
How did you find it?
We found it, we were all part of a bigger networking group, in which we knew each other sort of here, there and everywhere. And that's how we started. We've actually, some of us have now left that networking group. I left it after sort of the Black Lives Matter movement, because they weren't addressing it and they weren't allowing anybody to speak, in which there is a big blog on my website which tells you why I actually left that community. But we did actually meet there, and then we just got to know each other. And because we all live around the same area as well, when we were allowed to meet each other, we met each other and we actually networked. But now we just chat to each other. We chatted to each other, and we kept chatting to each other through the pandemic and through lockdown. And that's how we started, really.
Yeah, I think the biggest advice in this whole thing is, pandemic or not, have a community and people support.
Definitely.
You.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So my last question, my favorite question at the end, is about success. And what is your view on success?
My view on success is that success is whatever you decide it to be. It doesn't have to be what anybody else says it is. You look at big entrepreneurs and ones that are making 6-7 figures, and you think, oh, that's successful. But it is whatever your success is. My success is different from probably somebody else's. My business, I want it to make six figures. That is what my success would look like. But I also want to make sure that my family are happy and healthy, and I want to see them grow. Other people's success is completely different. Maybe they want to hit 7-8 figures. They don't care about family or whatnot. But it doesn't matter what your success is. As long as you decide that that's what your success is going to be, then go for it. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. It is whatever you want it to be.
Well, thank you for your honesty.
No problem.
Well, it was great chatting to you, and
lovely chatting to you too.
I wish you all the best and all the success.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, and I'll speak to you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Voila, that's the end of this episode, and I want to thank Katie for telling her story. Please share it on your social media, and it might reach someone who will feel inspired to follow their dream, no matter what crazy pandemic we're in. Don't forget, life is short. Live it to the fullest.